and welcome back to A Plus Life, where I pretend to have my life together and you pretend to believe me. As you know, this month has been all about time, and today we're talking about how time relates to romantic love. I have something to confess. I am really scared about making this video. I'm about to bring up a topic that I didn't really ever want to discuss on the internet, because I am talking about my latest breakup. And before we go making assumptions, I want to be clear that I am not doing this for spiteful reasons. I'm not talking about this to get sympathy or revenge or to start drama or be the Taylor Swift of YouTube. This isn't a plea to get someone to come back to me or anything but me trying to teach people from my own life experiences. I'm telling this story because it's affecting me and my time right now, and this is an honest channel, and I truly believe that people can learn from what I'm about to say. So to begin, the tale of my latest romantic escapade begins in February of this year when I met Drew. I met Drew through a group that we're both in at our school, and he is incredibly kind, good-natured, smart, and we hit it off right away. Now, I will admit that I have dated a lot of people, but I have never been in a long-term relationship. Drew, on the other hand, had dated only a couple of people before we met, but he was with one person for 5 years. Now, Drew and this girl broke up at the beginning of this school year, and he had dated other people since then, but any relationship of that length is going to leave some lasting impressions. And even though all of my relationships have been very short, they've all left me with some insecurities about being in love. They make me wonder if I'm just not cut out for long-term relationships, or if there's something wrong with me because I can't seem to hang on to anyone. But when Drew and I started going out, it felt magical. We surprised each other, we stayed up late talking, we had great communication, and genuinely connected on a lot of really particular things. Drew is one of the only college students I have ever met who doesn't drink or smoke, and really values hard work and can keep up with me in a conversation about politics and history. He was and is so many of the things that I've always wanted in somebody else, and I knew right away that he would be very important to me. So I put 100% of my effort into building us because I was so ready for something great to happen. And I just want to reiterate as I tell this story that I still have an immense amount of respect and admiration for Drew, even as I tell these next parts. So as time went on, Drew and I talked about his past girlfriend, and I could tell that he was still really hurt by the whole thing. And I totally understood where he was coming from, but it made me very nervous. But Drew made it clear to me that he was over this girl, and he made me feel wanted when we were together. But at other times, I noticed Drew withdraw. We didn't text as much, we didn't see each other, and I started to get very anxious. Because we'd been dating for about a month when things started going downhill, and for me, somebody who's only been in short-term flings, that point in a relationship can be a very pivotal time. Usually the 1 to 3 month mark is where people either make things official or break up, and for me, it has always been the latter. So when Drew and I became a little bit distant, it freaked me out because according to the timeline that I'm used to, that meant bad news. And as time kept passing, my nerves kept building until I was spending hours upset over Drew. And even though we had great moments right up into our last weeks, one night Drew and I talked on the phone and we decided to end things. He basically said that he wasn't ready for a relationship because he'd just gotten out of one, and I said I was disappointed, but I understood, and we chose to remain supportive friends. It was a mature, bittersweet conversation, but I think that given the circumstances, this was the best possible outcome for the situation. Because if we would have forced things and stayed together, we probably would have built up a lot of resentment towards the other person and ended up hurting each other. And even though I still wish that it would have continued, I've decided that ending things was the best option for Drew and me because both of us needed time. He needs time to remember how to be single, and I need time to learn how to let love grow before I start questioning it. So I have learned a lot over the last few weeks, and I want to share that with teens and teachers. Because I think teens face a lot of the same problems I do when it comes to impatience and love. And I think that teachers forget how it feels to be young and in love and experiencing all of those things for the first time. And I think we all need to realize just how important time is when it comes to respecting, growing, and learning to love other people. So my first A+ tip this week is to realize that in relationships, timing is everything. And I mean that in so many different respects. The amount of time between an old relationship and a new one, the time between texts, the time it takes for you to make things official. There's literally something about time in every single aspect of a relationship. And I think that puts pressure on people. Like I said, I feel pressured to make things official within the first few months of a relationship because I've never had someone in my life that long. But Drew was trying to take things slowly so that he could ease into someone else after his old relationship. So you can see how people perceive time differently based on where they are in love, and that can create conflict even if there's nothing really wrong. And so my next tip is about how to deal with that conflict, and it comes through in a theme we've been hearing all month long. Have trust, be patient, be still. When it comes to love, everyone moves at their own pace. And for people like me who crave action and excitement, we want everything to move fast, and so when it doesn't, we think something's wrong with us. But there isn't necessarily anything wrong, it just means that our partner is probably in a different place. So we need to learn to just breathe and hold space for people and let things run their course. And I am so bad at that, but I have learned that delayed gratification can feel just as good as instant. Because when you wait and work for something, it can be a lot sweeter than when you just dive in head first. Another thing with patience is to have hope. When we're waiting, it's easy to assume that the other person will never catch up with us. But we don't know what the future holds, so damning all of these possibilities is like throwing that future away. So right now, the hopeless part of me thinks that I'll never meet anybody like Drew again and I'll end up alone forever. But the positive A+ side of me knows that anything can happen. In a week, we could be back together, or in 7 months, maybe I'll meet the love of my life, or maybe I've already met him. We don't know what could happen, so instead of being hopeless about that, we need to learn to just trust that everything will work itself out. And to do that, we need to find peace in our alone time. I think the hardest part about breakups is realizing that all the time you're spending by yourself is time that you would have been spending with the other person. And for Drew, I think that was the hardest part because he was with somebody for a quarter of his life and then it was just over. And when we use that alone time to just sulk and be sad and start searching for another person to fill the void, we set ourselves up for disaster. Because a relationship born out of insecurity will never produce a lifelong connection. Healthy, long-lasting love comes only when we love ourselves. So if you're going through a breakup, get your grieving out, have that time, but also use your new alone time to make yourself happy. Don't chase someone else right away. Learn what makes you feel your best and then do that thing. Take up painting or redecorate your house, start a new book, or cut your hair. Reclaim your singular self and make time your best friend. Finally, I just want to say that this theme has been my favorite one we've done so far. Like I said in video 1 for April, I was really struggling with anxiety at the beginning of this month after the breakup, but learning to process time and get to do these videos has really helped me regain control of my thoughts. And I just really appreciate you listening and following me through that journey. So that's all we have time for today, but next week there will be a blog post on the A+ Life blog about May's theme, so hit up that blog for that blog. Thank you so much for watching and have an A+ day.